Hi, I'm Sylvie Zamora, and you are listening to the Audio Description Narrators of America Know Your Narrator series, Beyond Your Narrator episode.
Today, we're very happy to have Richard Reiman with us. Thanks so much for joining us, Richard.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be here.
What do you love about audio description?
Audio description is a new world for me, and I'm basically an audiobook narrator the past 10 years or so after a long career in radio news. And I discovered a hole in the audiobook world, and that is children's picture books. Without the descriptions, the books just aren't the same. So I decided to do a little investigation about audio description and adding that to these audiobooks to make them much more accessible to children who are blind or low vision. And this is my mission of the nonprofit I created, Imagination Video Books, and the project is called Imagination Storybooks, dealing with the audiobook versions of things. So that's how I got into it.
Very cool. And it sounds like there's a lot of similarities and maybe even some differences from evolving the audiobook narration into the audio description. In your research, can you name some things that may have surprised you as you learned more about audio description?
Well, what I discovered right away, Roy, was that the audio description I'm looking for illustrated books is really different than your typical audio description for movies and TV shows. Because with movies and TV shows, basically you kind of want your describer to stay out of the way a little bit. They're not part of the movie. They are describing it. Well, with these storybooks, the narrator and the describer become co-narrators of the book. You can go into much more detailed description because you don't have the time constraints that are in other media. So, just to give you a quick example, I pulled up here. One description we might have is, in the deep blue night, outside of the bedroom window, the full moon seems to perch on a high bare limb of the tree, near other hovering creatures, an owl, a moth, and a grasshopper. So you could never really describe that much usually in a movie, but with the freedom to describe these beautiful illustrations, it becomes a completely different kind of audio description experience.
Have you found that any authors are wanting to be actively involved in the creation of the illustrations, or are you taking that fully yourself?
I started off mostly with independently published, self-published authors. And there's a great Facebook group for these authors. And I found a lot of volunteers to have their books being made into audiobooks with audio description. And so it's been great, that response. Plus, I'm part of the narrator community, the Audible narrator community, and I have about 50 volunteers to be both the narrator and the audio describer. So that's great. And I'm also, through your efforts, thank you, communicating with some blind narrators who will have the chance to also participate in the project.
One of the things I first learned about audio description is that this work, specifically for TV and film, was created by blind people for blind people. So your inclusion of blind talents in this work is really commendable. What are some of the things that you're enjoying when you're working with blind talents?
Well, the feedback I get from them, number one, is that they wish they had this when they were growing up. That there definitely is a gap as far as the preschoolers. And I'm kind of part of the blind community because I was a guide for blind skiers for many years. So I had to put on the blindfold and go up the chairlift with a guide and get off the chairlift and ski down with my blindfold on. Just to see how totally dependent I was upon the guide before I became one. And I have a lot of friends who are blind or low vision, and their children and now their grandchildren are saying, yes, please do this, and we'd love to be a part of this project in any way we can.
So great to hear about that inclusion and that connection, to be able to have blind people and specifically blind children be included just like other sighted children to be able to experience these books. It's really exciting. If we could go back to an earlier question, we were talking about some of the similarities and differences in this particular kind of work compared to maybe even your radio news days or the audiobook narration. Can you talk about maybe a challenge that you've faced in creating this business that you're really proud of how you overcame?
Well, the real challenge was basically the time to put it all together, because with audio description, you're involved in, perhaps a movie studio or a production company, and there are different people doing the description and different people editing things. And I have created a one-stop shop. I really had to, where, and it's kind of a family business too, because my daughter Erin is an audiobook narrator and my son Sean is an audiobook editor. So I use their services too. But all I need is to get the scripts produced for the audio description, and I have everything else as far as narrators and the ability to edit everything together into a final audiobook. And my goal is to make sure these audiobooks are free to any children who would like to listen to them. I started a YouTube children's channel, and I'm wondering if that's the exact right way to do this. I'm trying to contact Learning Ally right now to see if perhaps I could do these audiobooks through their distribution. And also the ADA's project to distribute them where people can find the movies and films and TV shows with audio description, to also have them there so they are easily accessible, because the marketing is always the challenge, making people aware that this exists.
And it sounds like with all those partnerships from your own family and the creation of it, from engineering to editing to narrating, and also these alliances with Blind Talents and the ADA, this sounds like a lot of great partnerships.
And it's so much fun, Roy, because, I'm an old ham. Besides radio, I was in theater too. So, doing audiobooks gave me the freedom to be 40 different characters, like in one book. And I've always been a kid at heart, and being able to tell a story, once upon a time, there was a fairy who had but one tooth, and this is the story of how she became the Tooth Fairy. So you can, it is so much fun to do the narration of these wonderful kids' books about dinosaurs and fairies and, all sorts of, lots of pets in the children's illustrated books. More than that, I am trying to find books that have a nice message of kindness, basically inclusion, all the things that we'd like our children to hear about at an early age. So I'm really trying to focus on books that deal with things like Ellie and Her Emotional Dragons, which is the story of an elephant who has 5 dragons in her closet that come out when she's happy or sad or mad, and help her deal with her emotions. So these are the books that I'm really focused on bringing to life in audiobooks with audio description.
Wow. This sounds like such a great start and wonderful foundation with your whole team and all these partnerships. What's the next phase of this endeavor?
Well, I'm going to expand beyond just the self-published authors and approach the publishing companies that are out there, because we can churn out a lot of these audiobooks and make sure that we're big enough for Audible to want to carry them too. Once I have enough audiobooks created as examples and enough of an established track record, I'm going to be approaching the major book publishers to see just how many we might create. And I know that Dolly Parton works with Imagination Library, her project, with Random House, and it seems like a perfect fit. So that's my next direction.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audiences?
Well, just that, of course, reading to your children is the most important thing of all. Audiobooks are great when you're not able to do that, or even in a car while you're traveling. Audiobooks are wonderful experiences for children. It just brings them to life. And with the audiobooks with audio description, you really are using your imagination. And I think that that has a wonderful appeal to children who might not have full vision, to bring them into the world with descriptions of things that really add so much color, if you will, to the stories themselves. So I'd say, number one, please read to your kids. And if you can't, play audiobooks for them. Keep them off the TV watching the stupid cartoons. Find some good books for them to hear, especially in their preschool formative years.
Great, Richard. Your passion and creativity and filling this gap that's been needed. It's all coming together so clearly. It's really exciting to see what's happening and what you've already done and what's to come.
Yes, thank you, Roy, so much. I appreciate you helping me spread the word that this is going on with imaginationstorybooks.org.
Are there any other places to follow you, or is that the best place, the website?
Yeah, the website is the best place, and we're being redesigned to make it even more accessible at the moment. But that is the best place to find the books that are part of this project right now. We're just starting to create the YouTube channel, so this is, in its infancy, if you will. But this is my legacy project. This is going to happen, and what I'm dedicating full time to. So the website, imaginationstorybooks.org, is the best place to go.
Thanks again so much for joining us, Richard.
Thank you, Roy.